host Locke, and this is the podcast where we drink, smoke, and bullshit about the life of a historic criminal. Now we're talking outlaws and gangsters. We're not going to cover too many serial killers. That's just a little bit dark for me, and this ain't no true crime podcast. Honestly, you can't call this a history podcast because I'm no historian. I'm just a history fan that does some research and bullshits about it with his friends. So speaking of my friends, let me introduce you to my co-host. First with us today, we got DC.
What up, doe?
We got a big episode today, so I made sure we brought in the muscle. Welcome back to the podcast, Tank.
Hey, man. How's it going, everybody?
All right, and also with us today, we got Dan the Man, the Duke.
Hello, everybody. And everybody clap your hands.
So I'm
It's to say hello to the podcast show with Tank, DC, and Dan. And the host with the most is Locke, of course, and he's got a story to tell. And as we listen, bullshit and drink whiskey, and I'm going to get high as hell. Damn.
So I'm assuming you were going for like a rapper's delight. The first thing I thought of was
I wasn't going for anything. I was going for
That's
hello,
what it sound
everybody.
Like, definitely Rapper's Delight.
Well, you know, if I was in the 80s, I'd be killing the game, son.
well, I still thought the 80s. I thought of Revenge of the Nerds, the Lambda Lambda Lambda. That's what it sounded like.
We need to do something better
Word
than
up.
hey, everybody, next time.
That's what I'm going to start doing, intro jams.
Also today's episode is being filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Ooh. Ow!
So that's the natural growth. We got to keep adding more mics, as we're going to have to put a bench seating in the studio at some point.
That's right.
So now I can start chants.
Waves.
DC, why don't you kick us off?
Well, I got kind of, I'm not sure if I had one of these on the podcast before, but definitely one of my oldies but goodies, Dogfish Head 60-minute IPA. I love this one. It's your standard IPA, but I really like it. I'm not sure the gravity on it, though, but it's just one of those go-tos.
All right, Duke, what do you got to drink today?
Well, I'm going the DC route today, and I'm going with Lagunitas IPA. Pretty good. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing that he said about his, like pretty standard IPA, and I dig it. It's pretty good.
On this show, it's called Lagunitas.
Lagunitas.
Everyone, Lagunitas.
All right, now, well, I guess, Cancer's a big beer guy too, but Tank's kind of the workhorse. He goes to the breweries that fucking, you have to have a special card, the special knock on the door, and then you wait there for fucking 3 days, and then they swear at you until you fucking walk in.
I don't drive a cool enough car for that. They still make me wait outside and drop it off in my trunk.
You know
I'm
that
just
scene
kidding.
in Goodfellas where they go to dinner and they take the back way in and all that famous shot? That's Tank when he goes to the liquor store.
Yeah.
He gets the Ray Liotta treatment.
They're like, hey, everybody, there's a guy coming in that calls us before he shows up.
Yeah. And all it is, little 15-year-old kid, like working as a stock boy. And they're like, hey, mister, I got your ale.
Yep. I thought you guys said you had this in stock.
And by the way, Tank is still responsible for introducing me to my newest favorite beer, which is Boss Tweed. All at a fight party at his house. And literally since I had it that one time, it's been my favorite beer.
All right, man. I'm glad you like it. And just on a side note on that, Old Nation's getting ready to pump out a kind of once in a year beer for them called Cart Horse, and it's like a spicy, hazy IPA. It's pretty good. If you like a little spice in your food, definitely try this brew. They only make it for a little bit. It's going to be pricey. They're like $17-20 a 4-pack. But anyways, try that one then. And
that works.
You won't be disappointed.
What was the name of it again?
Cart Horse.
Cart Horse. Okay.
Yep. Man, it's a delicious brew. But yeah, Boss Tweed, man, you can't go wrong. Throughout the whole state, they got it. You could buy it at any Myers. It's like a go-to. If you're ever sitting in front of the case and you can't make up your mind, grab you a Tweed.
I try and get it at Myers. That way it's $15.99
Yeah,
instead of $17.99.
Exactly. Listen to us. See, so I mean, even though I got the special card and shit, I still can't afford this life. But I got Iridescent Imperial Red IPA, a local brew, Griffin Claw, Birmingham, Michigan, 9%. It's a Imperial Red, and I've only had 2 or 3 red IPAs. They're pretty good. They got a lot of flavor, and Griffin Claw's a good brew for a decent price, and they got a good selection. There's a couple of their beers I really like.
And it's a cool Harry Potter house.
Oh, is that what it's from?
No, I don't know.
Oh.
It just
I, think
sounds
it's,
like it.
I know you watch Harry Potter, but I know it's Gryffindor.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. It's
I'm
just-
pretty sure it's Gryffindor.
Because I did that once with
Pop culture, motherfucker.
I look like a nerd to
Yeah.
you, dude.
Well, I don't know. Take a look around. We all look like fucking dorks right now.
Well, Odd Sides does a Dynasty from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and it had been so long since I seen the episode. I seen it and I was like, Shady Nasty, and my
That's
buddy was like,
what I
no,
thought.
my buddy was like, no, motherfucker, Dynasty, you know, with the show we watch all the time. I'm like, yeah, well, I guess I fucking forgot the episode from 8 years ago and shit.
The
My
first
bad.
time I saw the episode, that's what I thought. I was like, Shady Nasty, and then Shadina. I was like, oh, okay, now
And
that makes sense.
I've seen all the Harry Potters. I haven't read the books, so when you said that, I was like, well, I guess I forgot Harry Potters too, you know. But
Griffin Claw's really good though. I've had a few of theirs, but if anybody's in that Royal Oak area, Birmingham area, it's a good place to stop into. It's a little bit different. The inside, it's like all like park bench seating. It's like really long park benches. It's not like
Okay.
regular table chairs, but they got good food and get good beer there. And then it's one of those things in the summertime where however the door stuff is, it's all open. So it's like you kind
Oh.
of get a breeze through there, but it's
garage
pretty.
door style.
So it's
yeah.
like a
But it's
good
not off
old
of a main
Viking
road.
longhouse.
Yeah, it's not off of a main road, so like you would have to know and be going there to know where it's at. It's maybe a half a mile from Woodward, but it's not like on a main road. You would never accidentally see it.
Okay.
But
Man.
they're good.
All right.
Well, I got this Founders Marvel Roast, which I never had before. My wife got it for me. It's an Imperial Golden Ale with coffee, vanilla, milk, sugar, and cocoa nibs. So I don't
Sounds
know
good.
I don't know what
the
nib
nipples
is.
of a cocoa bean or something. I guess so.
So you have to tell me how it tastes. Like, what would you
Yeah,
compare it
that
to?
sounds fucking delicious.
It to me it's kind of like bean flicker. Oddside's bean flicker
Oh, okay.
is a blonde ale with
I
a
think I've heard that
coffee.
one.
It's well, cause I'm used to like the coffee beers usually being stouts and porters.
Yeah.
So I kind of really dig like an ale or something, you know, blonde ales.
So how is this, the Marvel Roast Marvelous?
It's really good. Well, and it's 8%,
Mhm.
so
Oh yeah.
It'll do
it'll
its
do the
job.
trick, right? And then we got lemon shanties in the house and shit too. So fucking.
Lemon Shandy's in the house.
So between the IPAs and the high gravities and shit, this one could get sloppy.
Yep.
So we'll see how it goes.
Summer,
Just
summer,
bear with us.
summertime, summertime.
I don't got shit else to do but go to bed early and work in the morning. I mean, fuck it.
That's all.
Who wants to be responsible? Well, before we get started, like always, we always gotta thank Sixfo Sueno for letting us use his music in the intro. We've really had a bump in our listenership over the last couple weeks, and we get a lot of positive feedback on the music. And none of that's us. The music, that's all local artists that let us use it. Cancer, who's a host, everybody here is hosted with him on an episode, I think. He does mid-roll music.
And if you have any issues trying to figure out how to spell Sixfo Sueno or anything like that, just go over to badguypodcast.com, click on sponsors in the top, and you'll see the links to all the sponsors. Go right to their page.
And another thing that's been helping some people, like some people are interested in the gangster shit, but they don't do podcasts necessarily. So I get, questions about what apps to use and stuff like that. If you go to the website, you can go to the website and then hit the episode straight through the website. So you got somebody that's into gangster shit that's not too familiar with podcasts, just send them to the website, and we got the most recent episode. We got some of the most popular episodes. So they can just go hit them straight from there. It's like crack. Once we get them on one, just get them to the website, get an episode in, and we'll get them back.
Yeah.
Come on over.
And then before we get into it, I wanted to cover, we had a new listener. His name's Brett Julian. He runs it's Dust Bunny Mafia. And what he is, he's a cartoon artist. And he does, I got this so you guys can check it out because I thought it was really cool. So you guys go follow Dust Bunny Mafia on Instagram or on Twitter. And he's a really cool guy. And what he does these cartoons about mafia shit. So all this stuff it's historically accurate, so he looks up, he does real gangsters and stuff like that. But he does like these cartoons with them. Like this is an example of like one of his Instagram things. So he takes these real guys, bases their nicknames, and comes up with like a cartoonized version of them. little brief bios.
Mm-hmm.
But then he also does legit comic strips about like mob scenarios, and some of them are like real life. He's got like some Mad Sam DeStefano ones, so they're kind of funny. They're well done, but they're look, the days of just the preachy history class is over. You can listen to us get drunk and babble about it, and then go look at some cartoons, talk about it, and it's a more palatable way to get the information.
Damn straight.
Yeah, I like it. I love whenever somebody puts like a kind of a different spin on something that's been done over and over again. It always makes it kind of fresh and new. I like it. I like the fact that all of his characters are like animals. So, it's like I could just imagine, somebody nicknamed the Weasel. And he just,
Yeah.
so-
He does a good job. Like as soon as I seen the page, I was like, dude, we gotta talk about this on the show. So yeah, Dust Bunny Mafia. You can go find him on Instagram or Twitter, and then if you hit him up, he'll put you on a mailing list. It's free, and you get like his updated comic strips and shit like that.
Right on.
Back when newspapers were a thing, all I would read was sports and comics, anyways.
Me
So
too.
I miss them. I need comics in my life.
And I used to cut them out and put them on my walls and stuff. The ones I thought was funny. So I'm gonna definitely check out this guy's material right here.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. And the bad guy we're covering today is Jesse Evans.
This ain't negotiation time. This is Scarface, final scene, fucking bazookas under each arm. Say hello to my little friend.
Okay, of course we have the AKAs there. AKA Jesse Graham, AKA Will Davis, AKA Jesse Davis. So,
I think it's
With
more
the-
like Jesse Graham.
yeah.
Like he's a little
so-
Jesse Graham.
Well, I'm gonna guess that that Graham means a little something.
For kind of the first time, we've never covered a guy who's I have less of a backstory on. No, we will get to a point in the story where I know the facts about him, but that point is not now.
Okay.
So he was born in 1853.
Oh, old school guy.
Yeah, that's about as far as we can narrow it down. He's known as Jesse Evans, but he went by so many aliases, so nobody knows his real name.
So he just showed up one day. Like
Yeah.
nobody knows. He just hit the scene
Yeah.
with various names of Jesse.
Yeah, you got to think back during those times. Even if you were trying to get a job or something, it was like birth certificate, social security card. Is like, yeah, you got strong hands, got a strong back,
Yeah.
got work for you.
Pick up that box over there. All right.
We were all undocumented workers.
I don't know, boy. Are you stupid? No, sir. All right. You strong? Yes, sir. All right, you can get a job.
Take
work.
your word for it.
Boy, you dumb as a graham cracker. Hey.
But we do know that he was for sure born in either Missouri or Texas.
Yeah, we for sure know as one of them states.
Yep.
He was half Cherokee, but he bore no resemblance. He had gray eyes, light hair, and fair complexion. What was funny is he was described as above average size at 5'8", 150 pounds.
Okay.
Oh, that dude was huge.
Not a lot of food going around in his area.
Damn.
And he said he ain't no pansy either.
Yeah,
Nowadays, we have middle schoolers that size.
right.
Middle school linebacker.
His first run-in with the law was on June 26, 1871, when he was arrested with both of his parents for passing off counterfeit money in Elk City, Kansas.
18.
Yep, he'd have been 18.
Okay. So
Well, maybe.
yeah, you're right. You're right.
They just said that's when his age changed because they wanted to charge him as an adult.
Yeah. Okay.
That's probably it, too.
He's 14. No, he's 18. He's 5'8", 150.
Shit, at 18, he was a grown ass man.
Yeah.
They were like, this boy huge. Ain't no way he's 12.
You got his birth certificate? Parents using the counterfeit money too, or just him? I'm curious.
It just said him and his parents.
All right.
They were passing it
It
off.
was a
Oh,
family
okay.
business.
All right. I know you said not much backstory. I just wanted to process that for a second.
He ends up getting released before his parents, and he headed to the New Mexico territories on his own looking for work. So he basically said, fuck these parents. I'm out.
These parents are a bad influence on me. I
We
gotta
almost
get away
got
from these bad
I would have got
characters.
away with it if it wasn't for these two.
Yep.
So he leaves his parents, goes to New Mexico territories. He begins working as a cowboy at different ranches, including working for John Chisholm. But he found cattle ranch work to be a lot of labor. and eventually just caught on with the John Kinney gang, which was one of the more notorious gangs in the territory.
Yeah, so he was just a young guy not giving a fuck about trying to work. He's like, I could just go rob shit and live that life.
The John Kinney gang, they specialize in cattle rustling and armed robbery, and his cowboy skills made him a valuable asset to the gang. Jesse Evans and John Kinney soon became good friends. On New Year's Eve 1875, John Kinney, Evans, and 2 other gang members were celebrating at a saloon in the city of Las Cruces when an argument broke out between U.S. cavalry soldiers based out of Fort Selden. And turns into a big brawl, and John Kinney gang gets mollywopped pretty bad.
So they just got caught up in the ruckus?
You know, they're thinking, we're the John Kinney gang, motherfuckers, and we ain't gonna put up with your shit. And they're like, well, we're army guys. You know what I mean? We're the same dudes, but we got a bigger gang. And there's one thing you know about army guys: you don't start fights with them in saloons or bars or wherever the fuck, because that's what they live for. That's their good time outside of fucking being on a base and whatever. Like, they go to bars and fight and shit.
That is very true.
Kinney gang gets mollywopped pretty bad, so the outlaws escape and they return and shoot up the saloon. They end up killing 2 soldiers and a civilian, and then wounded 2 more soldiers and a civilian.
Doesn't that remind you of like every cartoon when you were a kid? The bad guy gets beat up and then he run away and then he comes back and does something really bad.
Oh,
That was like the theme of every cartoon. It's like, I lost. No, I didn't. You
Right.
just keep coming back.
there's no loss when you can just come back the next day with a bigger weapon, right?
Yeah.
Right. That's why they are the John Kinney gang and not the army guys. Like, so, I mean, technically, I guess they lost that battle, but they won the war on that bad boy.
Yeah. See, to your point though, too, you think about the army guys, they go out and fight because it's like for fun. And they go back and it's like, oh, all of this is over here. But the gang is like, no, in their mind, I have to get you back.
Right.
You know, the army guys like, listen, I have a real war that I might be going into. We got training. I just went out to have fun. That was fun.
Win,
Other
lose,
guys
or
like,
draw.
no, yeah, it was fun. That was yesterday.
Yeah.
Why are you
It's
bringing up old shit?
It's like the Dave Chappelle, Rick James. He was like, you hit me. He's like, that was yesterday. No, you hit me today.
After the big shootout, the problem is John Kinney was so fucked up they couldn't move him, so he had to stay in the area and lay low while he took the time to heal up. Laying low wasn't really the John Kinney gang's strong suit, so on January 19th, Evans and 2 other gang members ended up killing a man named Corino Fletcher on the streets of Las Cruces.
Like the opposite of laying low, fellas. Which, I mean, you think would be a tough task back in those days anyways, because they couldn't move them far. And like, hey, you guys remember that big shootout that happened? That's the only action in the area probably in that time. You know what I mean? Like the giant shootout is probably the biggest news to happen. Talk about rolling the fucking dice. We're going to kill a dude right out in the street.
What they
2 days
did
later.
was they switched glasses.
Yeah.
One guy, they put on fake mustaches. And I think that's probably why they killed that dude. He recognized him and goes, hey, ain't you part of the Kinney gang? Shut your mouth. Killed
No,
him.
I'm Will Davis, not from Missouri, but from Texas.
So the John Kinney gang, they invented the glasses with the mustache on them.
Yeah.
I love how like every one of our subjects always invents shit. They're always the first one.
Groucho Marx stole
Groundbreakers, baby.
the look from them.
Yep.
So on this one, Jesse Evans doesn't get away with. He gets arrested and tried for the murder, but they did some old school, some pre-gangster witness intimidation,
At this time, they just called it school.
and he ends up getting acquitted.
Oh, the glove probably didn't fit.
You saw nothing.
Well, just like we were talking about either earlier, it's hard to hide out or whatever. Yeah, witness intimidation, shit like that.
Your Honor, witnesses said he was wearing glass. Now, do you see glasses on this gentleman here? No, sir. And sir, they say he had a mustache. Do you sir, look at his upper lip? Do you see any follicles resting underneath his nostrils and above his lip area? No, sir. Okay, well, I believe your Honor. I believe this is mistaken identity, sir.
The big problem was kind of Jesse Evans had kind of alpha John Kinney at this point. They all got their ass whooped, but John Kinney couldn't get up and walk away. So Jesse Evans has to lead the gang to shoot up the bar, and then he kills another dude and gets away with it and shit. And that's all stripes, right? You're just fucking you're working your way up the ladder and shit.
I swear, Kenny, I didn't mean to get away with it.
Well, Jesse Evans decided to take Kenny's best guys and just went and started his own gang.
Oh,
That's how it works. Yeah.
the double cross.
He's like, fuck you. You think I'm trying to take over your gang? Well, fuck it. I'm going to take over your gang.
Goes straight back to that Rick James episode who said,
Yeah.
I didn't stomp on his couch.
But I love that. He's like, hey, Jesse, I hear John's kind of mad at you. He thinks you're taking over your gang. Fuck him. He thinks all right, I'm not going to take over his gang. I'm just going to take the best of you and leave. I don't want the shitty ones.
Start
just
a
the
new
good
gang.
ones.
How about that?
You guys can still be the Kenny gang.
Yeah. You made the cut. We're going to have Kenny Gang Olympics. We're going to see who makes the cut.
That's how it
I
works.
see them all doing like tricks on horses, going on one side, doing like spinning their guns. There's a gun flipping contest, a horse saddling contest, a bucking bronco contest.
Oh no, you're definitely a
Yeah.
Kenny guy. Go over there.
Then they're over there with cars, like raising up numbers, 8.5 and shit.
That's Graham material.
Now, the Jesse Evans game, historically, they call them the Jesse Evans gang. They called themselves the Boys. The Boys spend the next few years committing robberies and cattle rustling, which was your 1800s bread and butter. Here's the ironic part. The only difference between, earlier he said cattle ranching was too much work. The only difference between cattle ranching and cattle rustling is it's stolen cows.
Oh,
It's
that's
exact-
different.
Oh,
It's the
That's
exact
what I
same.
Oh, that's
Like
different.
you just
Oh, that's
Yeah.
way
roll-
different.
That's what I thought it was, and because back in the day, you got to figure you could have rolled up in the middle of the night, and when you got a gang, and just like what you said, I mean, half the people didn't even want to pull out a gun back then, and maybe they couldn't when you rolled up with your whole, new and improved Evans gang and shit, 4 in the morning, and you're stealing their cattle in the middle of the night. Maybe not their whole,
Well, you steal what you can.
Yeah.
You know,
yep.
they do like the fence cutting, like they know where they would graze. You just cut off a little piece, and they let them wander out far enough. You just,
Right under the moonlight.
I mean, cattle's are big, stupid animals. They go where you cowboy them to go.
Yeah.
They just follow you, and now they're your cows.
I thought they were just delicious animals, but yeah.
They ended up working with a network of other gangs that spread from New Mexico to California, and they started what at the time they called a chain gang, which is very different than what we know a chain gang now.
Yes.
So now you think of chain gang, you think of guys in prison working,
Working
the
on
work
it,
duty
yep.
or whatever.
Working on the chain.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or that 50s song, right? Maybe 60s.
Can't Get
I don't
Away.
know if that was
The
50s
chain-
or
One
What
of
is
those decades.
Yeah.
That's the sound of the men
Get back.
working on the chain.
What movie was that?
Gang.
That was a movie.
Oh, don't you
It's
know?
it's
That's
Lawrence Fishburne and Charlie Sheen.
That's
Cadence.
just-
Oh, yeah.
Cadence. That's
well,
what it
that's
was.
just that's been in a bunch of different movies.
Yeah.
That's just a
Like a
famous
lot of
song.
prison. Yeah.
Oh, don't you know?
So their chain gang was, they basically started a link of, like I said, the gangs would go from New Mexico to California, and what they would do is they'd swap each other stolen cows. So they would steal cows and move them from territory to territory. So it became hard.
They were cattle launderers.
Yeah, you couldn't
Yeah.
figure out who they originally belonged to. You couldn't figure out who stole them. So it was hard to prosecute. So it
Well-
was basically free cows.
So
well,
this
for
was
people that don't know, like the way they tag a cow was they would brand them, and a lot of them were very simple designs. They were just a couple of lines doing shapes. So a lot of them found ways to, with wrought iron, like add little lines here and there, like changing a 4 to an 8, or like
Right.
when you
okay.
used to fail in school, get like a shitty F or whatever, try to change that bitch to a B. Like,
No, that's my family farm crest, dude.
Yeah.
What you talking about?
so that's how they would like re-tag them and rebrand them and
Okay.
shit.
See, that's why I love this podcast. I was gonna ask that question. I didn't have to do it because Dan explained it before I could ask the question.
Yep.
I was gonna be like, "Don't they brand them?" Like, well, see, they do, but let me tell you how it works.
They just cross that brand out. They just cross it out and make a new one next to
Well,
it.
or at some point you could brand it so much that it's just a giant scar.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you're in California. This cow comes from a fucking 300 miles away. That might as well be $1 million. Whatever. I'll
Yeah.
take it. Whatever this mark is, it ain't the 5 fucking ranches around here.
Well,
so ain't nobody tripping.
Also, cattle don't live that long, and they don't get sold and resold that often. So if a cow's been rebranded that many times, it's been like stolen and been on like the black market a bunch of times.
So they just move them up and down the chain gang. John Kinney ended up working under John Evans in the chain gang, rustling cattle.
Wow. So he took over his gang, made a new gang, and then he came to work for him on. You know that other gang. You were right. Those guys were shit. Can I come work for you?
I mean, John Candy was very impressive in the gun flipping contest. I mean, was he not going to let him in?
I want to try out too. Shit.
I mean,
So I'm not gonna take your gang. I'm just gonna start my own gang and make you work for it.
Hey, why not?
Well, I'm pretty sure that's taking my gang, but I mean, I need to make some money, and it seems like you're moving to California.
well,
so.
that's another thing. It's like, John, well, you know what, Jesse? At first I was pissed, but it turned out you kind of knew what you was doing. I mean, look what you did. You made the Pony Express for cattle laundering. Look at this. The way you turn them marks into other marks. Well, gosh darn, Jesse, I'm so proud of you.
You know, Jesse was probably a genius. He had at least a 3rd grade education.
Yeah.
Genius.
He had parents.
Exactly.
And he got away from them for counterfeiting money. This motherfucker's counterfeiting cattle.
Yeah, so I don't think it was that he moved on because he was pissed at them. I think he moved in because they got him caught. Like, these motherfuckers don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I gotta move on to bigger, better things. These parents are holding me back. They're shitty counterfeiters.
I'm ready to pull Catch Me If You Can cattle edition with these cattle
Yeah.
and shit. You know what I mean?
At one point, Billy the Kid rides with him in Silver City. At that point, Billy was considered a greenhorn outlaw. But even then, they say he was a natural with a firearm on horseback. Like, Billy the Kid was always good. Like, people would dispute a bunch of different stuff about him. Nobody ever doubts he was good. But at that time, like, he was kind of new to it.
He was a guest judge on one of their competitions.
A former New Mexico governor and author. I put the spot to put the name, and I forgot to put the name there. But he was a New Mexico governor and author.
It's the thought that counts.
Yeah, I mean, you
Fill
know.
in the name.
Yeah, just, 1800s, somewhere around there,
He wrote that book about Billy the Kid. That one. Let me look it up.
Governor Dick
I got to do
Beetle.
all the fucking work for you. Sean.
I'm going to go with Dick Beetle.
So Dick Beetle writes this book, and in it, he said he described the relationship as a teacher-student relationship, and he said that Billy the Kid's image was heightened due to his relationship with Jesse Evans, not vice versa.
Oh, okay.
So wait, Jesse taught Billy the Kid?
I mean, they weren't together for a long, long time.
I'm saying in the apprentice relationship,
Yes.
Billy the Kid was the apprentice?
Yeah. When Billy the Kid was coming up, saying I'm with the Jesse Evans gang was more impressive than I'm with Billy the Kid.
Makes sense because you figure that gang had been around for a while. They had terrorized a couple areas, made a name in stealing cattle. And Billy the Kid was known as a gunslinger, but it takes time for one person's name of just slinging guns to travel versus a whole gang going state to state
Right.
counterfeiting cows.
Well, it's crazy when you go and you look back at like the Wild West, like all these outlaws. A lot of it is like the MCU. There's so much overlap of them working together and being with each other and being like cousins and family and shit.
Mm-hmm.
The fall of 1876, Jesse decides to move the boys to better hunting grounds for cattle rustling. So between the growing population of small local ranchers, the Mescalero Apache Reservation, and then the large John Chisholm owned ranches, which he had over 100,000 heads of cattle, Jesse Evans decides that they're going to settle in Lincoln County.
So
See, they had to have one hell of a bookkeeper. Like, imagine the fucking cattle gets all switched around. Then, like, you try to resell, like, so like the cattle that was stolen last week from us. Fuck. Oh,
okay,
I
not
gotta,
that one, not that one.
I
This
gotta
one,
double
this
check
one.
these
I meant
marks.
This one. This is the big question. At this point, 1876, this would put our guy Jesse at 23 years old.
Yeah. In a busy year.
76, yes, 23.
23 years old. How old was Billy the Kid at this time? This man is still a kid. And he's
Um,
running the whole gang state to state.
He was
That's
Billy the
time.
toddler.
we got Jesse the old man and Billy the Kid.
Well, a lot of like cowboys.
Billy the Kid was 6 years younger, so Billy the Kid would have been 17.
Well,
okay.
cowboys start at like 13, 14, and that's why
what I
they're
was gonna say.
cowboys.
Well,
Like,
and you said it earlier, the 3rd grade education. I mean, you were probably closer than your joke, thought it was to the truth.
as soon as your balls drop,
Yeah.
you get on a horse.
It's time.
That's what I
Yep.
think. 14, you're a grown man and shit.
And not to get too into it, but Billy the Kid started outlawing at 14.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Now, the most prominent, powerful businessman in Lincoln County was named Lawrence Murphy. He was an Irish immigrant and a Union veteran who owned the local store L.G. Murphy and Company. Most people referred to it as the store.
It's one hell of an easy nickname.
Yeah.
Right. That's when you got a monopoly. Where you going to the store? There's only one.
So he was the classic rich cattle baron dude that ran the town.
Right. And he was called a mercantile store, which just means it's the store.
It's the Walmart of back in the day.
Yeah.
They have all your shovels, all your wheelbarrows, all your guns, all your flour, all your corn.
Well, and you hit it on the head. Due to a monopoly, he charged high prices, and he was just robbing local farmers and ranchers. He'd charge them out the ass.
Oh.
And they would have to do it
All right.
because it's the only spot to go. So
Looks like a sneaky motherfucker.
Murphy had so much money, so he was influential with local law enforcement. He had an alliance with the local Sheriff William Brady, who operated as Murphy's security.
AKA had him in his pocket.
With Sheriff Brady and the law on his side, Murphy would encourage gangs like Jesse Evans to steal from ranchers like Chisholm, and then he'd resell livestock at an elevated price. So Jesse Evans could steal their cattle, move them to California, bring in new cattle. He could sell the new cattle at a higher price because they would need some because theirs is gone.
Fucking genius.
I mean, you look at that, that's kind of like how banking/credit card stuff works. It's like, we'll give you everything you need to get into debt. Now you want to get out of debt? Oh, we won't own those companies too. So if you pay us, we'll help you get out of debt. Oh, you've gotten out of debt. Here's credit cards. Take some more debt. It's a revolving door. That's how you keep the money coming in.
So between his unethical business practices and elevated prices, the area was hungry for a competitive option, which came in the form of John Tunstall. John Tunstall was a wealthy Englishman and banker. He partnered with a local attorney named Alexander McSween, and with the support of John Chisholm, they started a mercantile store called J.H. Tunstall and Company. Basically, everybody's like, man, if we could go anywhere else, we would. And he was like, well, here, I'll start a new place.
Okay.
Well, not only that, but he joined up with Chisholm, who was the other big dude in town, too.
Well, and it's kind of a no-brainer when the other guy's having them steal all your fucking cows. Like, I don't know. Are you going to steal my cows? No.
No.
Well, then, yeah, let's, I'm with you.
Wait.
Not if you join
This
with
sounds
us.
like a great business plan now.
Murphy's all pissed. That son of a bitch, Chisholm, he brought in an Englishman. He imported help.
Well, that's exactly what happened. So, because it was old country beef, Murphy was an Irishman. He was an immigrant, and he hated the English.
Yeah.
So, okay, there's the business thing. He hates that. You want to move in on his monopoly. I'm killing the game, so you want to move in. But he hated him first because he was an Englishman.
Yeah. Small reason why I would hate the English.
Due to the amount of theft in the area, the Tunstall faction hired local cowboys and gunmen to protect his livestock. The group included Jose Chavez, who was covered on the podcast,
All right.
Doc Scurlock, Dick Brewer, and Billy the Kid. So this is the group we all know from Young Guns
So it's
as
the regulator.
the Regulators.
Oh, my bad.
Regulators.
It took every ounce of my energy not to do that. So when he did, I was like, all right, at least somebody did it.
As a response to Tunstall arming up with the Regulators, the Murphy faction put Jesse Evans and the boys on his payroll. The tension between the two factions turned to violence on February 18th, 1878, when Jesse Evans, accompanied with 3 other men from his gang, shot and killed John Tunstall. Tunstall was shot in the chest with a rifle and through the back of his head with his own revolver.
Damn.
The murder of John Tunstall started what is now known as the Lincoln County Wars.
Okay.
Well, see, they probably thought that would fit because they went right for the top. Like, they took out the top guy. They figured, all right, take this guy out and we're done.
Clearly, they didn't see fucking Young Guns, because
No.
that's not how the fuck it goes. It doesn't work like that. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to take a real quick smoke break, refill our drinks, and we'll be back in a minute.
Round here, animal kids wanna be king. 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 I stare from figures of flame. Dear mama, these amateur cannibals crave power. Grave robbers, murder for favor from fake fathers. Disorder in the chapel with shackles to break out of. They cower, solo but mob 'em and they crowd us. Spilling in the street with heat like hot lava. Pop bottles, molotovs tossed and rocks follow. Ominous disciples like vipers, they strike quickly. Command me like an army, I'm tearing you down with me. Spit like a baron, rulers are bred like Kaiser. Roll with the goal and get beaten like outsiders. These amateur animals swing in the wrong jungle. Climbing the wrong vines mean these lions will snuff you. Concrete wilderness building our own structure. Writing our own order, appointing our own judges. Overthrowing authority, morally lack conscience. Fighting for survival with rivals with throat punches. Round here, animal kids wanna be king. Round here, animal kids when they murder me. Round here, cannibal kids wanna be king. 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 I stare from figures of flames.
It's almost time to run, put on your army helmets now. You're running toward the sun with all your guns, defenses down. Flashes everywhere, the lights create an atmosphere. Water in your lungs, you pray for death, but life is here. You're about to die, face it, you're about to die. Zero sand in your glass, fuck it, you can't even cry. Put a dagger to your neck, just to keep yourself in check. Put a dagger to your neck, just to keep yourself in check. Everybody grab a side as you fight to stay alive. Dancing on a hand grenade so you can die and they survive. Silver bullets in the sky, dropping 7-second death. Scattering the children, run, rub until there's nothing left. Ashes in the water, sons and daughters holding flags up high. Wallow in the harbor as the military tanks arrive. Penetrate the border with disorder like an animal. Every war has the honor of turning kings into cannibals.
Round here, cannibal kids wanna be king. 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 Round here.
All right, we're back. All right, so we got this. We all got this beer Tank brought to share with the group. What is this? You said it looked like a Boss Tweed. Is it the same?
It's from Old Nation. It's Full Earth. It's part of their New England series that they do, their New England IPA series, and it's just like what we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast, Cart Horse. It's one of their kind of yearly. We do it when we're gonna brews.
Their beer of the year.
Yep, and it's 9%. It's got a lot of flavor, man. They call it Full Earth, and they hit it on the head. It's really earthy.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of tones to it, I guess you could say. And it's super strong. And the best thing about Old Nation is they hide their strength with a really good, flavorful beer, which will sneak up on you if you forget.
This is the only thing I'll say. Just like in the podcast, how Jesse took over, because he just had he had it. Tank is pretty much the beer general now. Based on the beers he's introduced me to, I don't know who was there before, but Tank's the guy, so everybody else fall in line. That's
Who was
all
your
I'm gonna
John
say.
Kinney? Who
I don't
took him out?
listen. It's Tank now. Whoever else doesn't matter.
Hell yeah.
That's all you need to know. It's Tank now.
We were talking about it before we started. We came back from break, and DC was talking about how their taste is different. Their IPAs have a different taste. And I was reading an article about one of their brewers, and he spent time all over the world. Well, basically all over the beer world, which is Europe and America, basically. But
We're Americans. That's the whole world,
Yeah.
right? American Europe. Where the fuck else is there?
So, anyways, that's where that skill comes from. You know what I mean? At least that's what I tell myself from the articles I've read and the research I've done. Is that's where that skill comes from, man. When you've got the experience and you can mix and match them like that, the flavors that they get it's hard to find. Before we went to break, I had a Oma Gang Brewery from Cooperstown, New York, Neon Rainbows IPA, and it's a good IPA, but they use some of the same ingredients that some of these Michigan IPAs have in them. But I don't know if I'm biased, but they ain't getting the same flavor.
I think right now it's just hard to compete with Michigan beer.
So we left off. It kicked off the Lincoln County Wars. Like we said, we've all seen Young Guns. Jesse Evans was on the Murphy faction. They also had Sheriff Brady. So a lot of the regulators shit, they did a lot of duking it out with like the deputies and the sheriffs and Murphy's guys like that. Jesse Evans' gang was kind of like, he's like the grimier operations. Like the other guys would do like a little shootout or whatever, but when you need someone to assassinate John Tunstall or go do some dirty shit.
He was special forces.
Well,
He was Blackwater. He wasn't even that. He was a special defense contractor and shit.
Special mercenary team.
This ain't a sheriff job, Jesse. You get that gig.
Well, this isn't exactly legal, but you can get the job done.
We had to call in some outside help.
So legend has it, through the course of the war, Billy the Kid was afraid of Jesse Evans. Quote from Emerson Hugh in his 1907 book, Story of the Outlaw. Jesse Evans was one of the very few men that did not fear the Billy Kid. He always said a kid might beat him with a Winchester, but he feared no man living with a 6-shooter.
That's right.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, if that used to be his apprentice, he don't want to give Billy the Kid no credit. It's like, I taught him his shit.
Just because you can drag race don't mean you can road race.
This is true.
Other historians say that between the two men, one was afraid of the other, and he was relieved that the other was afraid.
I can believe that. I mean, you look at that in other areas, combat, boxing, MMA, have two guys that are, really at the top. They're really afraid of each other,
Yeah.
and afraid of catching that L. And back in these days, that L meant death.
Yeah.
So it's like you respect them, they respect you, and, you see each other and you give them the eye, and then you go the opposite way.
March 6, 1878, William Morton and Frank Baker, who were two of Jesse Evans' top lieutenants. So they came over from the Kinney gang, and they were both with him when he killed John Tunstall. Two of them, they were both killed by regulators. On that same day, Jesse Evans and Tom Hill were caught rustling sheep. In an ensuing shootout, Hill was killed, and Jesse Evans was shot in the lung.
Well, I mean, it's like I always say, though, don't go rustling brand new sheep. Please stick to the cattles and the steers that you used to.
You do always say that.
If I had a dime for every time I heard that shit, man.
That's what I'm saying. You'd be as rich as Tillsdale.
So that was a big hit to the Jesse Evans gang, but Jesse Evans gets pissed. April 29th, because he got to heal up for a little bit because he got shot in the lung.
Wait, he's angry about that?
Yeah.
How do you even
When they
recover
killed all his
from-
boys.
This fucking 1870s. How you even recover from that, man? That's amazing. I thought that was gonna be it. We were the fastest episode after the break ever, and the story's over. Like, motherfucker got shot in the lung in 1870, some shit.
So April 29th, 1878, Evan leads a posse. They tracked down a group of regulators, and they killed Frank McNabb and critically wounded Abe Saunders, who ended up dying later. That's what is now known as the gunfight at Fritz Ranch. So Jesse Evans, between his injuries, after the gunfight at Fritz Ranch, he's not too involved until July 15th, when they had holed up 15 regulators in Alexander McSween's house. We covered it on the show in the Chavez episodes, what's known as the Battle of Lincoln. It's in Young Guns also.
It's kind of a big deal.
You can Google that one.
I love that story.
So basically, the gang surrounds the house. The second day, the army comes in. Eventually, they light the house on fire.
I
So
believe it was Jimmy Jam that did it.
we don't know who lit the house on fire. They were the Black Ops guys. I mean, they were out there for 5 days. They had the military and shit. At some point, they're like, hey.
Hey, General, come here. Hey, we can light this motherfucker on fire. You ain't got to do it. I'll do it. That's what we do. You don't have to know nothing. This conversation never happened.
In the fire, a handful of regulators, including Billy the Kid and our boy Chavez, escaped from the Battle of Lincoln. When it was over, 2 members of the Murphy faction were killed, and 10 were wounded, and 5 regulators were killed, including Alexander McSween, who was a non-combatant. That's Young Guns 1. The end. The next day, Jesse Evans led a group of other Murphy men who looted the Tunstall store. Tunstall and McSween were both dead, and the remaining regulars scattered in different directions as fugitives. Murphy died of cancer on October 20th, 1878, and Jesse Evans stayed in the area to pursue criminal activities. Susan McSween tried to utilize legal and political connections to pursue charges in the murder of Alexander McSween and get amnesty for the remaining regulators. So her whole thing was, they were deputized. John Tunstall was murdered. My husband was murdered. We were supposed to be in the right. You're not supposed to kill them. And the politicians and the sheriff are like, well, I don't know. So she hires an attorney named Houston Chapman, who starts to make some progress with the case. On the 1-year anniversary of John Tunstall, Jesse Evans and Billy the Kid called a truce. They met at Lincoln County, squashed the war, and Jesse Evans and Billy the Kid were cool.
See, this picture represents how a truce really is, because you really still don't trust the person. So it's like all the guys around are like on guard, and even them shaking hands, it's like, all right, come on, Dan, come.
There's one dog that's like,
all right.
Don't touch me.
That's what it looks
same
like
time,
in the
same
picture.
time.
Same time. And 1, 2, break.
So the truce ended up lasting a couple hours. They went and had a bunch of drinks to celebrate. and then Jesse Evans and them seeing Houston Chapman walking down the street, and they shot him and killed him. So this is for sure.
I had my fingers crossed behind my back. That handshake didn't count.
Wait a minute, I forgot all about that. Like as a kid, it's like, oh no, I crossed my fingers. It didn't count.
You
That's
asked for a
hilarious.
handshake. You should have asked for a pinky promise, you stupid son of a bitch.
Shoulder shrug emoji. Don't know what to tell you.
Oh man.
So by now they had wrapped up the Lincoln County War and they're trying to clean shit up. So they murder this fucking lawyer in the middle of the street. So they're like, okay, so Jesse Evans is a bad guy. So
now I'm
no,
the
he's a bad guy.
Officially.
It was cool all this time just lighting cribs on fire.
He
Fuck
was
him.
the lawyer. He wasn't in the gang.
After the murder, both gangs split in separate directions, and that was the last time that Jesse Evans and Billy the Kid ever seen each other. The boys were pursued by the Texas Rangers, who at that time was like the baddest of the badass law enforcement guys. So they ran down the Jesse Evans gang over 3 states. They had like a series of shootouts where like gangs slowly got killed off. Eventually they're down to 3 gang members when they got cornered in Presida del Norte in Mexico. Which I didn't think you're supposed to do that for the Texas Ranger. I thought once you made it to Old Mexico, then you made it. Like, but that is the Texas Rangers, so they're like, well, fuck, you know. We
New
just
rules.
I made a joke earlier about smooth faces, but that picture, I mean, I know they're law enforcement agencies or agents, so maybe they have access to more barbers, but damn, man, that's some decently smooth faces for back then.
well, it's picture day. Like a lot of, I mean, this wasn't, you know,
You're right.
well, this is picture day in 1880.
Yeah,
you
you're
know what I
right.
mean? You don't do that 3 times a year. Like you do that
You're
once in
right.
a life.
That was like a thing. They rode from a state over to take
Yeah.
a picture.
So in that shootout, Jesse Evans kills a ranger named George Bingham and wounds a ranger named D.T. Carson. Eventually, he gets arrested. He gets overwhelmed. Both other gang members were shot and dying. Now, he ended up getting charged with second-degree murder of the ranger George Bingham. He got sentenced to 20 years in Huntsville State Prison, which it held podcast alum James Lucas and Dog the Bounty Hunter in 1977 for 18 months on a murder charge.
Damn. All the heavy hitters.
Yeah.
No shit.
Well, it's for sure the B team, but whatever. I mean, you got somebody. May 23rd, 1888, Jesse Evans escaped from prison and was never heard from again.
What year was this?
Oh wow.
1882.
That's
So-
the ripe old age of 29, old man.
Dude, that's an action-packed 7 years, man. That's an action-packed 7 years.
And this is the story of how one man finally learned how to lay low.
Never heard from again, man. That's impressive.
Well,
Well,
he
either
just-
that or else he got
He
killed
just changed
right
his
away.
name. Like
Yep.
he was heard from his, again, but under a different name.
I'm from Nebraska now.
Yep.
Was Nebraska? I don't even know if Nebraska was a state back then.
Well, it is now.
It is
'cause
now.
that's where he's
That's
claiming
where
he's
he's
from.
So in 1948, a probate investigator named William Morrison met with an elderly man named Joe Hines while investigating Joe's claim for his deceased younger brother's land in North Dakota. So me with Joe Hines, and at some point in the interview, it turns out that he had lived for a long time under the alias Joe Hines to cover up for his involvement in the Lincoln County Wars.
Okay.
This William Morrison guy, like he was a historian or whatever, he's an investigator and shit, so he knew about the shit. So he starts talking to him, and at some point, Joe Hines tells him that Billy the Kid was never killed and was still alive in Texas under an alias. Now, he always refused to give any specific information regarding his location or alias, but it led to the investigation that resulted in the discovery of O.L. Roberts, a.k.a. Brushy Bill. Brushy Bill is the old guy that Emilio Estevez played at the end of Young Guns 2. Some people have a conspiracy theory that Billy the Kid was never killed by Pat Garrett and Brushy Bill was him.
Sounds like a big departure there, Billy the Kid. Like, well, I'll keep half of my old name in my new name. But I've bitched about that before. It just didn't seem like they 4 aliases and they all have your original ass name in it. Like, come on, man.
I ain't a kid no more. I got Brushy.
I'm not going to get too into it now, but there's actually another story of a guy that people say could have been Billy the Kid, whose name was John Miller. And I'm not saying I think John Miller was Billy the Kid, but what I'm saying is if one of them was Billy the Kid, it's not Brushy fucking Bill. John Miller's like, if we're going conspiracy theory, we're going to go with the good story.
All right.
And the good story is John Miller, not Brushy fucking Bill.
I'm not saying it's true,
Right.
but if one of them's true, this one
Well,
definitely
yeah.
is true.
And you know what? Billy the Kid maybe might not have gave a shit about that. Like, yep, that's him. That dude over there is definitely the Billy the Brushy the. What was the other one? All right.
Brushy Bill and John Miller.
John
Yeah.
Miller. That's him. All three of them is him. I'm
Brushy boy John Miller.
I want to lay low.
Despite evidence that Morris found convincing enough to write a book and file for a pardon with the New Mexico governor on behalf of Billy the Kid, due to a bunch of inconsistencies, most people discredit the Brushy Bill story. But based on Morrison's notes, most historian researchers believe that Joe Hines was Jesse Evans. Most people that know Billy the Kid have heard the Brushy Bill story, but nobody's ever heard the Joe Hines story. And if it wasn't for Joe Hines, there'd be no Brushy Bill story. And he was probably Jesse Evans.
But if the last time they saw each other was the handshake thing, how would he know he became Brushy Bill?
Well, that was just our part of it. We don't know, so we don't know if they just met up somewhere else. I
30
don't know.
years later.
Look, I just researched the information. I didn't write the story.
Believe me, Jesse Evans knew of Brushy Bill.
Explain this then.
All right.
Well,
Well,
no,
let's
it just sounds
let's
like
call
that-
the fucking New Mexico governor that wrote a fucking book, and I'll ask him why the fuck Billy the Kid did that. I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying,
Buddy.
based on that, we think that dude would be like a member in the Lincoln Wars on Billy the Kid's side, not the opposite side.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe like they always say, Bo Schembechler and Woody Hayes, right? Like at one point, once the 10-year war was over and they were done with Michigan, Ohio State, they were like the only guys that could relate to each other. You know what I mean? Like they ended up being
Combat.
like fucking.
Combat year after year.
Yeah, 'cause nobody appreciates that fucking commitment or whatever, like the other guy.
Yeah.
Well, you figure too,
That's
you know,
interesting.
the kids went on, and, you know, in this case, the people died off, you know, it's 2 leaders left. But, you know, in the case of football, kids graduate, go to NFL, some go bust, and we just keep duking it out.
All right, so that's the story of Jesse Evans.
So say good night to the bad guy. Go on. The last time you're gonna see a bad guy like this again, let me tell you.
If we were gonna cast a movie, now obviously there's been movies about the regulators and shit. If we were gonna make a movie about Jesse Evans, who would you cast to play him? You guys haven't seen a picture yet. You guys got a guess before?
What's the guy's name that played in Batman Dark Knight? He was like the, I guess, doctor you would call him or whatever. He had the little mask thing. He
Oh, the
was-
Scarecrow guy.
I guess that's what you call
Cillian
him. He
Murphy?
was- I don't
Sounds
know, 'cause
right.
what made me think about it is, like you said, fair skin, light eyes, and that guy, that was the first person that popped into my head when you said it.
Plays crazy pretty good too.
Yes, he's definitely
Well, he's
probably
like
crazy in real
he's
life.
an English gangster in Peaky Blinders.
What is his name so I can Google it?
Cillian
Cillian
Murphy.
Murphy.
I said
Plays-
it like I knew it, like I didn't steal it from him.
Yeah, he plays a gangster in a lot of shit. Well, old school like gangster.
Damn, that sounds so familiar. And I watch Peaky Blinders. I can't believe I'm that bad with names where I can't relate
It's the
to,
main guy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. See, I thought at the beginning of the episode.
Yep,
you
that's
said
the guy.
He was Native American, though.
That's it. They did.
But they
said he was
said
half
you
Native
couldn't
Fair
American,
tell.
skin. Oh,
but
okay.
They said you couldn't tell
that's
at all.
that's definitely the guy I was
Alright.
thinking about.
Either you got a guess?
I'm trying to rack my brain. I can't really think of anyone.
All right, so here's a picture of Jesse Evans. If you go find this picture, it's called Jesse Evans and some woman.
Okay.
The funny part is
Yow.
the some woman looks more like Cillian Murphy than.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
No, I'm being serious. Locke is laughing really hard. You have the
That's bad.
microphone, but I'm actually being serious.
It's not a very strong likeness, and it's somebody that I've suggested before, but the guy that plays Ramsay on Game of Thrones.
He's got dark hair, but I mean, whatever.
Well,
you can
and
do whatever
just
with
the
hair.
character's kind
Yeah.
of murderous,
Wild
and
man.
very Ramsay-ish.
There was a reason why I was drawing a blank, because even after seeing this picture, I'm still drawing a blank on somebody I'll get to play him.
He has a very defined jaw chin structure. Almost like, what's that really big I know this guy's not a big guy, but what's that really big wrestler with like the ponytail? He's like I think
All
he
of them.
has.
Yeah,
No,
big
no, no.
wrestler
Listen,
with a
listen.
ponytail.
I was gonna give you one more clue. I think he has the what is it called, giganticism thing that Bigfoot Silver has.
Oh,
What is that?
giganticism.
Yeah, I think he has that. He's like a
what's his name?
what is that guy?
It's the Great Call or
Yeah,
something.
something
Great-
like that. If you look at like I don't
Yeah,
know,
'cause
like
he's got
his
that
jaw
elongated face.
Yeah, really long and defined.
But
like-
he's 5'8", 150. He's the world's
Yes.
smallest giant.
yes. But back then, this was a strapping young lad.
I don't know, man. I'm going like Harrelson or McConaughey for some reason. With this
Anyone
picture
from True
now.
Detective?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, for now that I've seen the picture, it's easy. You know,
What about young Jay Leno?
You're really hating on this young man's face,
That's
man.
a hell of a chin.
I'm just saying there's a defined chin
That's
there.
a chin, man.
You know, I would have went Uriah Faber, but you know, I got to take like 4 inches off of the guy's height.
DC just wants to know why the long face.
Well, so now we gotta do the Defcon scale. So standard Defcon scale is 5 to 1, 5 being the lowest, 1 being the highest. On the Bad Guy podcast, nobody's a good guy. So 5 would be Lee Murray, who's your crack dealing, kidnapping, bank robber, and 1 would be the Purple Gang, who's had multiple gang wars, multiple massacres, and they're killing people on the streets. So on a scale of Lee Murray to the Purple Gang, where would you rank Jesse Evans?
This is a tough one. Because he ran with a gang for so long, nothing was really specific to him. But I mean, you know, it was a short reign. It was 7 years, but he had a lot in those 7 years. You know, he shot out with other gangs, shot out with the police, shot out with the army was on his side, so that's a plus. He got the army on his side to shoot out with the other.
Well,
bad
they
guys.
also got into a big ballroom blitz with
Yes.
the
Oh, yeah? So-
army.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say I'm leaning toward a 3, but I'm gonna give him a 2. He definitely has some bodies out there, and even as he was going down a stretch of things, you know, taking a couple guys out before he went to jail and eventually disappeared. So, but this is a tough one. I was divided between a 2 and a 3. I'm just gonna give him a 2 because I think he's done a lot more than what we have documentation for.
I got to go with a 3. I was thinking hard about it. Thanks for going first because it gave me a little extra time. But yeah, I'm going with a 3 because it was a short burn. He disappeared, and there's a struggle there too. Like, did he disappear because he was a badass motherfucker after that, and he figured out a way to stay off the radar and under the books and shit, or did he disappear because his fast burn, I'm sorry, I said slow burn earlier, but his fast burn was 7 years of hard fucking living and he didn't want that shit no more. So I'm going with a 3 because I think what we do know about him warrants that. I don't think he got into the 2 atmosphere.
He's not in the 2 as a fear. I go with a little mixture of both you guys because, like DC said, you don't, there wasn't a lot of personal shit to him, and that's how I judge these guys. If they were just violent, asshole sort of people, this guy just seemed by the numbers, classic cattle wrestler. That's what he did. He revolutionized the game in a lot of ways, started that whole connection, and he did have a lot of bodies, but we have a lot of like justifications, like we have shootout rules and shit.
Yeah.
Like all this shit was he was in a gang warfare. They called in mercenaries to stop him, and I mean they were called in to stop him from doing illegal shit by all means. But that's who they killed. They killed the one innocent guy would be the guy that they burn up his house and shit. But also
Yeah.
he was that dude's business partner. So like he wasn't innocent. He had them in his fucking house and everything. So, but I mean, they did assassinate the dude, Tisdale and everything. So I'm gonna go with the 3. I'm gonna go middle. I was gonna say a 4, but he does have enough bodies. And in the same way, when I judge these mob people, if they're the standard mob guy, like they're not excessive in their violence, but they are mobsters, they killed some people and shit, I give them a 3. So in the same way, as far as like cattle wrestlers go, outlaws, he was the run of the mill guy. He did all that shit and he killed some people, but I don't know, I didn't get the sense that he was just out here being a dickhead and like just shooting up towns and shit, you know what I mean?
It's hard to blame you for bodies that you put up in a shootout because now you're just blaming you for being better. Well,
Yeah.
like when we were shooting at each other, right? So I was real good. That's why I keep winning the shootouts.
So
that
I'm
makes me
better
the
if I
bad guy?
die?
Yes.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Sorry for being so fucking good.
Tell him to bring his Winchester. You keep
I
coming at
wanna
me with
live.
6 shooters, I'm gonna get you. I'm
That's
fucking
that
Jesse
fucking
Evans. Or
John
John Kinney?
Kinney. Yeah,
John
John
Kinney.
Kinney. He got all jealous and shit. Like, oh, you're mad because I got off of a murder? Like, you're
Right.
mad because I'm running the gang good?
So when you compare the Cowboys to the mob guys, there is this kind of certain like down the line protocol to where to just be a successful guy, you don't hear the total numbers because they're pretty good. So some of that shit goes under the radar. But it's hard to blame them for being good at what they do. But when it doesn't seem like the excessive violence that pushes you over the limit to like a straight cold-blooded killer or a psychopath or something like that. He's a game 3.
Well, I mean, you know, sometimes you don't got as much info, but he wasn't locking people up under ships and burning them alive and shit. So
Yeah.
I had to back on him.
Zach, this is Crystal Palace. Sync NORAD declared DEFCON 3. Scramble all alert aircraft. I repeat, scramble all alert aircraft.
So you guys got anything before we go?
He fought the law, and the law. What? I forgot who the law was. They kept on switching.
All right. Well, this is Say Hello to the Bad Guy. Thanks for coming, and thanks for listening.